Hollywood's golden era wasn't just sparkle and fame, it had a shadowy side too. Behind the movie sets and glitzy nightclubs, some of the era's most famous women were romantically linked to notorious gangsters. The bigger the star, the more jaw-dropping the story. Let's take a look at 10 unforgettable actresses who became famous as gangster companions.
I don't see anybody flipping or checking.
You will. Take your stole off and go to the powder room.
Powder room?
Just visit a while.
Marilyn Monroe. Given Marilyn Monroe's famously wild and sometimes scandalous lifestyle, it's perhaps unsurprising that she crossed paths romantically with gangsters. Monroe, never one to do anything quietly, was linked to several high-profile criminals, including the charming Sonny Franzese and, reportedly, Chicago mob boss Sam Giancana. Monroe's connection to Giancana was strikingly different from his well-known romance with clean-cut singer Phyllis McGuire. According to multiple sources, Giancana spent Monroe's last full night alive with her, attempting to persuade her not to go public about her alleged affair with President John F. Kennedy. Her relationship with Franzese added another layer of drama. At the same time, her ex-husband, baseball legend Joe DiMaggio, was still deeply in love with her, creating a tense love triangle. One infamous night, when Monroe famously sang "Happy Birthday" to President Kennedy at a Democratic fundraiser in Madison Square Garden, DiMaggio chased Franzese through the arena, attempting to confront him about the affair. Franzese later admitted he had been trying to avoid DiMaggio, feeling both admiration and shame for his involvement with Monroe. The episode highlighted just how entangled Monroe's personal life had become with some of the era's most notorious figures. Phyllis McGuire. The McGuire sisters were one of the most popular female singing groups of the 1950s, known for their wholesome image as daughters of a minister. That reputation, however, was challenged when glamorous lead singer Phyllis McGuire embarked on a scandalous romance with notorious Chicago mob boss Sam Giancana. Giancana first noticed McGuire while she was performing with her sisters at the Desert Inn in 1959. Impressed, he even intervened to cancel a substantial debt she owed the casino. Though McGuire initially testified before a grand jury in 1965 that she and Giancana were only friends, she later admitted that the relationship had been romantic. She insisted that at the time of their first meeting, she had no idea who he was. Despite their feelings, McGuire faced immense pressure to end the relationship. The affair threatened the McGuire sisters' career, upset their parents, and even drew the attention of the FBI, which investigated Giancana and went so far as to plant listening devices in McGuire's bedroom. Their romance lasted for several years, but eventually, McGuire became involved with oilman Edward "Tiger" Mike Davis. Giancana met a violent end in 1975, shot by an unknown assailant. The passionate relationship between Giancana and McGuire was later dramatized in the 1995 HBO film Sugar Time. Billie Holiday. It's well known that the legendary jazz singer Billie Holiday endured a deeply troubled personal life. Born into hardship, she survived an abusive childhood, faced relentless struggles with addiction, and encountered countless other challenges. That she still managed to leave behind such an extraordinary musical legacy in only 44 years is nothing short of remarkable. Her love life, however, was yet another source of pain. In 1957, Holiday married her third and final husband, Louis McKay, a man whose presence only added more turmoil to her already difficult world. McKay was abusive, controlling, and greedy. He stole her money and fancied himself a gangster. Reports suggest that he worked as a mob enforcer and may have engaged in other criminal activities. The marriage brought legal trouble as well. At one point, Holiday and McKay were arrested together on narcotics charges. Holiday never went to the police about the physical abuse she suffered. She was too afraid of her husband's retaliation. The breaking point came when she discovered that McKay had squandered her money in a reckless business deal. Though she eventually left him, they were still legally married when she died in 1959. leaving a haunting footnote to the tragic story of Lady Day. Jean Harlow. Unlike some actresses on this list, it isn't hard to picture Jean Harlow as a gangster's moll. The bold, brash, platinum blonde siren of the screen famously dated mobster Abner "Longy" Zwillman, a man so powerful he was often called the Al Capone of New Jersey. In 1930, Zwillman helped jumpstart Harlow's career by loaning Columbia Pictures mogul Harry Cohn $500,000 in exchange for securing the young actress a two-picture deal. At the time, the 19-year-old divorcee had appeared mostly in bit parts. The films she made for Columbia and MGM in the early 1930s catapulted her into stardom. Life and art began to blur when Harlow was cast as the girlfriend of gangsters in several movies, including the 1931 classic Public Enemy. Her flashy, brazen, tough-edged performances helped shape the enduring Hollywood stereotype of the gangster's moll throughout the decade. Off-screen, Harlow's real love life was just as dramatic. Married 3 times during her short 26 years, she endured one scandal after another. After her relationship with Zwillman, she wed producer Paul Byrne in 1932, only for tragedy to strike when Byrne took his own life just 2 months after their wedding. Jane Mansfield. Given how much time Colombo family underboss Sonny Franzese spent at iconic nightclubs like the Copacabana, it's no surprise that he mingled with countless celebrities. What is surprising, however, is that he was romantically linked to some of the most famous actresses of the 1950s and 60s, including Marilyn Monroe, Diahann Carroll, and Jane Mansfield. According to Crime Reads, Mansfield was madly in love with Franzese. Their first meeting was the stuff of nightclub legend. One evening at the Latin Quarter, the glamorous star suddenly appeared on stage and looked directly down at Franzese, leaving the mobster stunned by her presence. At the time, Mansfield was married to actor and bodybuilder Mickey Hargitay. She reportedly told Franzese that her husband would be taking her home that night. The mobster, unfazed, warned her that if Hargitay showed up at the club again, he would beat him up. Despite Mansfield's infatuation, the romance never developed into anything lasting. For Franzese, handsome, charming, and constantly surrounded by admirers, it was just another fleeting affair while he continued to play the field. Lana Turner. Few Hollywood stars had a more turbulent love life than film legend Lana Turner, and among her many romances were several gangsters. Her most infamous relationship was with Johnny Stompanato, an enforcer for the Cohen crime family. What made their affair so notorious was not only its volatility, but the shocking way it came to an end. In 1958, Stompanato was fatally stabbed by Turner's 14-year-old daughter, Cheryl Crane. The teenager acted during a heated argument between her mother and Stompanato, fearing for Turner's life. Her fears were far from unfounded. Stompanato had a reputation for being intensely possessive and was known to be violent towards Turner. His jealousy also extended to her co-stars. On one occasion, convinced Turner was romantically involved with Sean Connery, Stompanato pulled a gun on the actor. Connery reportedly managed to disarm him, but the incident highlighted just how dangerous Stompanato could be. On the night of his death, Turner was attempting to end the relationship. When Cheryl intervened, stabbing Stompanato, Turner at first tried to shield her daughter by claiming she herself had committed the act. The truth soon emerged, and Cheryl was cleared of wrongdoing after a coroner's inquest ruled the killing a justifiable homicide brought on by domestic violence. The scandal became one of the most sensational stories in Hollywood history, forever linking Turner's glittering career with one of its darkest chapters. June Lang. Johnny Rosselli's charm wasn't limited to dating glamorous actresses. He even married one. In 1939, he wed rising star June Lang. Though she never reached the level of fame as some of his other companions, the blonde, blue-eyed actress enjoyed a solid career, appearing in musicals such as Footlight Serenade and Stage Door Canteen during the early years of their marriage. Yet Lang's connection to Rosselli, known in mob circles as Handsome Johnny, ultimately damaged her career. While Roselli's primary business was serving the Chicago mob in Hollywood and Las Vegas, he also dabbled in film production, co-producing several pictures. June later claimed she had no idea about her husband's ties to organized crime during their time together. As unlikely as that may sound, it's possible she truly was unaware. In Hollywood at the time, Roselli's mob affiliations weren't widely known, and he had an uncanny ability to present himself as whatever people wanted him to be. When his criminal activities finally came to light, Lang decided she could no longer stay in the marriage. She divorced Roselli in 1943, ending their 4-year union. Doña Drake. During the 1940s and 50s, Doña Drake became a recognizable face on the silver screen, with appearances in films like Kansas City Confidential and The Girl from Jones Beach. Her talents weren't limited to acting. She was also a singer, dancer, and even led her own band. But perhaps the most intriguing role of her life played out far from Hollywood. In her early 20s, Drake was romantically involved with gangster Louis "Pretty" Amberg. Along with his 2 brothers, Amberg attempted to seize control of racketeering operations in Brooklyn. His ambition, however, proved fatal. In 1935, Amberg's body was discovered in a burning car. Police soon questioned Drake, who insisted she had no idea what Amberg's real business was, or even his true name. She told authorities she only knew him as Mr. Cone. Despite this brush with organized crime, Drake's life continued on a far brighter path. She enjoyed a successful career in entertainment and later found stability in her personal life. She married Oscar-winning costume designer William Travilla, and the two remained together for 45 years. Gloria Vanderbilt. Heiress, actress, and later fashion designer, Gloria Vanderbilt lived a life filled with drama from an early age. As a child, she became the focus of a sensational custody battle, and as an adult, she went on to endure 4 turbulent marriages while also exploring various careers. Her first marriage was especially difficult. At just 17 years old, Vanderbilt wed film producer and agent Pat DeSico, a man nearly 13 years her senior. DeSico was not only connected to Hollywood, but was also allegedly tied to the notorious Lucky Luciano crime family. Before marrying Vanderbilt, he had already been wed to actresses Thelma Todd and Linda Douglas. The young Gloria rushed into the marriage during a visit to her mother. She wanted to avoid returning to the home of her aunt, Gertrude Vanderbilt Whitney, the wealthy society matron and artist who had won custody of her years earlier. Adding to the complicated situation, Vanderbilt had just ended a relationship with millionaire business magnate Howard Hughes, who at that very time employed DeSico as his press agent. Her Aunt Whitney strongly opposed the match and disapproved so completely that she cut Gloria out of her will. Unfortunately, Vanderbilt quickly realized that the marriage was more than just a poor decision, it was dangerous. DeSico proved to be hot-tempered, violent, and emotionally abusive. Eventually, Vanderbilt left him for her second husband, the much older conductor Leopold Stokowski, though that union came with its own challenges. She finalized her divorce from DeSico in 1945, paying him a hefty settlement of $350,000. Donna Reed. Donna Reed is best remembered as one of Hollywood's most wholesome stars. She won an Academy Award for her role as Alma, also known as Lorene, the party girl in From Here to Eternity, 1953. Yet, to millions of Americans in the mid-20th century, Reed embodied the image of the perfect homemaker through her television series The Donna Reed Show, where she played the ever-gracious Donna Stone. That's why it comes as such a surprise to learn that in the late 1940s, Reed was romantically linked to mobster Johnny Roselli. His last name is sometimes spelled Roselli. Handsome and charming, Roselli easily moved in Hollywood's social circles, reportedly dating not only Reed but also Lana Turner, Betty Hutton, and several other actresses of the era. Nicknamed the Henry Kissinger of the mob for his smooth diplomatic skills, Roselli cultivated an image that helped him blend into Hollywood society. But behind that polished exterior lay a much darker reality. According to author Douglas Thompson, Roselli was deeply tied to organized crime and even involved in multiple murders. Hollywood certainly had its hidden underworld. Which of these star and gangster tales surprised you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments.